The rain had just stopped when the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the sprawling estate of Jonathan Miles, a man whose name was synonymous with wealth, power, and relentless ambition. The morning air was fresh, but there was a strange heaviness to it, the kind that comes before life changes in ways no one can predict. Jonathan, dressed sharply in a tailored charcoal suit, was running late for a board meeting. His mind was consumed with numbers, contracts, and strategies. But that morning, his eyes would fall upon something so unexpected, so quietly profound, that it would pierce through every layer of his guarded, business-hardened heart. As he rounded the corner toward the manicured gardens, he froze. There, beneath the shade of the ancient oak tree, his daughter Emily sat cross-legged in her pristine Navy school uniform. Beside her was a girl in torn, mud-stained clothes, her hair unkempt, her feet bare against the soft grass. Between them lay an old, battered book, and the homeless girl, eyes bright yet shadowed by hardship, was teaching Emily how to solve a math problem with the patience of a seasoned tutor. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of one small act to change everything, please take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep telling these real and inspiring stories to the world. Jonathan's first instinct was confusion, then alarm. How had this stranger wandered past his security? Why was she here, sitting with his daughter as though they were lifelong friends? He started forward, but something about the scene slowed his steps. Emily wasn't just listening, she was captivated. The way her brow furrowed, the way she nodded with understanding. Jonathan had never seen her engage so deeply with her lessons before. The homeless girl, whose name he would later learn was Grace, spoke in a soft, steady voice, her finger tracing the numbers on the page. Her tone carried no resentment for her circumstances, no bitterness, only the quiet determination of someone who knew the value of learning, because she had fought for every scrap of it. Jonathan's thoughts were torn between skepticism and something else he couldn't name. A strange, almost reluctant, respect. Still, his protective instincts kicked in. He stepped closer, his polished shoes sinking into the grass, his shadow falling over the two girls. Grace looked up at him, and for a moment their eyes locked. In hers, he saw a story written in invisible ink, one of hunger, cold nights, and relentless struggle, but also of dignity and pride that no hardship had managed to erase. She didn't flinch or cower. She simply closed the book gently and placed it on the grass, as though ready to be sent away without protest. Later, Jonathan would learn that Grace had been living on the streets since her parents died in a car accident when she was 9. The foster system had placed her in homes where she was little more than free labor. And when she'd run away, the streets became her classroom, the public library her sanctuary. She would sit for hours reading, teaching herself, memorizing pages so she could keep learning, even when she had to sleep in a park. That morning, Emily had spotted her lingering near the gates, and had impulsively invited her in when she saw Grace eyeing the open book on her lap. What began as a hesitant exchange had turned into an impromptu tutoring session. Jonathan could have walked away, called security, or sent Grace off without another thought. But something about her calm, unshaken presence stirred an ache deep within him, a memory of his own childhood, when his single mother had fought through poverty to put food on the table, when strangers' kindness had been the only thing standing between them and hunger. He remembered the shame of wearing second-hand clothes to school, the sting of being treated as less than by those who had more. And now here he was, a man who had built walls so high he had forgotten what it was like to look over them. The next few days changed everything. Jonathan invited Grace to return, at first under the pretense of monitoring her time with Emily. But soon he found himself seeking her out, asking about her favorite subjects, her dreams, the books she'd read. Grace's knowledge astonished him, but it was her resilience that humbled him. She never asked for pity, only opportunity, and when he quietly arranged for her to have clean clothes, warm meals, and a safe place to sleep, she accepted them with gratitude, but never with dependency. She still insisted on tutoring Emily, as if proving that her presence wasn't charity, but an exchange of value. Word began to spread in the neighborhood. A CEO, known for his strict, nonsense reputation, had taken in a homeless teenager and was personally overseeing her education. Some whispered about his motives, others praised his compassion. But Jonathan didn't care for the talk. For the first time in years, he felt connected to something real. Not contracts, not quarterly profits, but the raw, unpolished beauty of helping another human being reclaim their place in the world. Months later, Grace was enrolled in one of the city's top schools on a scholarship Jonathan had helped secure. She thrived, her grades soaring, her natural teaching ability earning her respect from both classmates and teachers. Emily not only improved academically, but grew in empathy, often standing up for other students who were bullied or overlooked. And Jonathan, the man who had once measured his worth in net gains and market shares, found that his proudest achievement wasn't a business deal, but the moment Grace walked onto that school stage to accept an academic award, her eyes scanning the crowd until they found his. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kin's Corner. Your engagement helps us bring more true stories of hope and humanity to light. Before we end, we have a special request. Comment below with what kindness means to you and how you've seen it change someone's life. Your words might just inspire someone else to take action. Jonathan often thought back to that first morning under the oak tree, realizing how close he had come to missing the moment that changed him. If he had walked by without stopping, if he had let his fear or pride decide, he might never have known the courage hidden in Grace's heart. She had not only taught his daughter fractions and formulas, she had taught him that kindness wasn't weakness, and that sometimes the greatest investments were made not in stocks or real estate, but in people, especially the ones the world overlooked. In time, Grace's life transformed in ways neither of them could have imagined. She began mentoring younger students, not because she was asked, but because she believed in passing the torch. Emily grew into a young woman who saw people not for where they were, but for where they could be. And Jonathan, once consumed by deals and deadlines, found that his legacy wouldn't be written on corporate letterheads, but in the quiet, unrecorded moments when someone dared to care. The story of the homeless girl who became a top student, thanks to a CEO's unexpected compassion, spread far beyond their city. Newspapers wrote about it. Social media lit up with comments from strangers, inspired to help the vulnerable in their own neighborhoods. But for Jonathan, the greatest reward was far simpler. Seeing Grace walk across the graduation stage years later, smiling through tears, holding her diploma high, he knew in that moment that he hadn't just changed her life, she had changed his forever.